Hey, it's Brett and Coach here, and yes, Brian and I did complete all 100 stickers on our Drink Illinois passport. That means we drank a lot of beer. So let's go over some of the best and worst things that we've had with a bunch of different superlatives. First up, let's shout out Demo Brewing just because they gave us the passports and it was the last ones they had. So again, shout out to them, otherwise none of this would have been possible. But let's jump into our first category, which we are not starting out on a positive note. Brian, take it away with what was your worst beer?
My least favorite beer was the Cooper's Ferry American Pale Ale from Midwest Coast. It just didn't taste good.
I couldn't agree more with Brian. I did say Cooper's Ferry as well, but also from Twisted Hippo, I said Strawberry Rapture. I drank that one pretty early on, and I think it's one of the few I straight up just did not finish. Which, it takes a lot for me not to finish a drink. Especially when at District Brew Yards and Twisted Hippo, you pay per ounce. So if I couldn't even get down the 3 or 4 ounces I did pour, do not recommend that. But moving on to a much lighter note, for all 100 breweries, this is our most unique beer. I would have to give that out to Lotus Island Mango Smoothie from Sound Growler. It drank like soup, like a smoothie, the best way. I do not really like pulpy drinks, but that was next level. I don't think I've ever had a beer that viscous, that fruit forward, and that color. It was almost like eating a scoop full of jelly. Another one, I would say just Sundial in general. Everything I've had there was something that I have never even remotely experienced before. Brian, what do you got?
I would agree with what Brett said about the fruited beer from Sound Growler. It was on my list. Of the ones I wrote down, I'm gonna go with, this was the mouthful one that we had here at Imperial Oak, Peach Brandy Barrel Aged Apricot Gold. I had a few sips of it when we were there, and it just was a very complex beer. The barrel aging of it, and it not being a stout, instead of being like a saison brandy, it just was very unique. Yeah, it was just unique, different. I had a runner-up from Goose Island, their tequila aged saison, also quite unique.
Tequila and beer is definitely an interesting combo. Back to another not so great thing to be called out for, most disappointing brewery. I was split in between two for slightly different reasons. My first most disappointing was McHenry Brewing in McHenry, just because when you don't have a single beer of your own on tap, kind of a letdown. But in that similar vein, Milk Money out in LaGrange did not have their Milk Money stout on tap. They were just fully out, and it felt more like a cafeteria or a food court versus an actual brewery or tap room.
My first choice is McHenry as well. Straight up let down. I mean, they did say on their social media that they have occasional tappings on Fridays, but it looks like they run out very quick. The other letdown I would have would be Sketchbook in Evanston. This just might be circumstantial, but when we got there, it was super packed. We had to get a single table that was near the window. It was super hot.
Yeah.
And we got a flight of I think 4 or 5, and
I think we got 8.
That's right, we did get 2 flights each. But why it was a letdown is none of the beers really stood out. They kind of were not cold, and they straight up got, I think, 2 of them wrong from what we ordered. So I think it was just circumstantially just a bad timing thing.
We do take partial blame because they were doing trivia, which we didn't know about, and when there was deliberation or grading, they weren't playing music fairly loud. So it was kind of just not a great vibe for somebody walking in, but if you were in the know, I could see it being a lot of fun there. But I definitely understand why it would be a disappointment just blindly walking in. So I mentioned this brewery a little bit earlier in the video. It is a brewery I wish were closer to us. We do live in the city of Chicago, so a lot of breweries that we go to are still within the city limits. I would give it to Sundial Brewing, just because, again, everything I've ever had there, the 2 or 3, were just wild. Plus, they aren't just a brewing, they were also mixing different things together too, and it's just a really chill, low-key space, and I really liked the whole rustic barrel vibe of the whole taproom.
Hop District, I think we'll get to them a little bit later, but they are one of those that I wish was closer.
And to the almost opposite of that category, we're going to go to Worst Brewery. Brian, I'll let you answer this one first.
This one I was not thinking would have been bad, because we had been to this venue before. I think we kind of mutually agreed that maybe this was just a bad tapping of a couple of their beers. I think we had 2, maybe 3, and just none of them hit. I don't think it was a lack of choice. I think we did try different varieties, but maybe it's just something with the tapping of the lines. Like, they just didn't taste very good. My worst brewery is going to go to Twisted Hippo of the District Brewery Yards in Westtown. It just didn't hit this time. Kind of a letdown, and maybe it was just that day or that weekend or those tappings, but something was off about each of them.
Are you sure I just didn't traumatize you with the Kool-Aid pickle?
Oh, that's right. That was that same time, wasn't it? Yeah, that was interesting, but I did eat that pickle, so...
I don't know, I was kind of into the pickle. But also, I will say, they did have a little bit of a redemption coming from the other location up in Wheeling. Unfortunately, that location is closing. But with that also being said, we are not bad-mouthing any of these breweries. These are all just flat up our opinions and thoughts. Everyone has a different opinion when it comes to beers and breweries. My worst brewery, I had to do a lot of thinking on this because I had Twisted Hippo out there. I thought, no, I like their whole vibe. I enjoyed their food, especially up in Wheeling. They did have a little bit of redemption. I was thinking of Midwest Coast, but between the Patio and the 2 more fruity sour beers, I couldn't justify putting them either. So that is why I settled on Diversity House. We had a flight of 4, and none of them were memorable for good reasons. I believe I called multiple ones ashamed to even say some of the words describing it on the menu. The word raspberry, vanilla, or cake is being generous. I don't think I get any of those. It doesn't taste bad, I don't mind it, but I feel personally attacked by the name. I'm giving it a 3. I think it just doesn't deliver on any of its promises. That's kind of harsh, but when it's true, it's true. Not all beer is good. They just did not follow through with anything that they had or promised. So unfortunately, I have to give it to Diversity House, which is formerly where Ravinia was, but I still think it was Ravinia's beers. But also we went up to Steep Ravine on the north side of Illinois, and those are all pretty solid. So I don't know what the true disconnect was, but definitely going to say Diversity House. Now, a category similar to breweries we wish were closer to us is breweries we wish we were regulars at. I specifically went for Skeleton Key. They had a really cool just vibe between almost 3 different tap rooms plus the patio, all kind of pushed into one. They had a really nice pop-up like makers market going on there too. And every time I see them in social media, they're always doing some cool, unique event, helping the community and just having a fun time. So if Skeleton Key was closer, I could see us really being regulars there, and I definitely want to try more of their beer.
Yeah, this one wasn't quite so hard for me to pick out. I kind of just thought about what each brewery goes for. I like my IPAs, and there is definitely one brewery that is their whole menu with a couple of other ones that usually are really good. I'm going to give my brewery, which I was a regular at, to Hop Butcher of the World. They're not far away.
Very easily could be regulars there.
Yeah, we definitely could be. It's just a little bit longer of a walk, but also we could lift there. They have IPAs and they have a large variety of it.
But besides IPAs, they have some pretty solid stouts as well as some pretty solid sours too. Next up is Most Surprising Brewery. I'll first give out an honorable mention to So Hopped. Really nice space overall. But the most surprising brewery for me is kind of an OG when it comes to the passport, and that's Haymarket. All the pictures and all of the things I've heard about Haymarket is that it's a fine spot, but very dive bar-y, dark, that kind of vibe in Fulton Market. But walking in there, it had an old school charm, but the beers, I would drink every single thing we've had there on repeat all night long. Very good stouts, very good Baltic porters. I even think I had a brown ale or an Oktoberfest there that was very solid. Bartender was a pretty chill guy, especially when I had to let him know that someone was tweaking out in the bathroom that I walked into. But other than that, very surprised, and I would actually be willing to go back there. So if you want me to travel anywhere for beers, maybe Haymarket's a place you can get me to.
Brett took my kind of possible first pick for most surprising. So if I had to pick another one that was surprising to me, just because I had no idea going into it, we mentioned them before, but Sundial. Their beers were very different in the blending that they do to it, because I wasn't expecting something so different, and definitely a place I want to go back again soon and just try a couple others, because that brewery I was not able to drink at. I had some sips, so one of those where I want to go back and I want to have a couple.
To piggyback off that a little bit, I would rather have a big visceral reaction like I did to Sundial's brews and have them be interesting and bad, not saying Sundial was bad, versus mediocre, fine, and boring. I don't want a boring whatever beer. I want something to make me question what I'm actually drinking. And they successfully did that sip after sip, even if it was the same beer. Favorite atmosphere / taproom at a brewery. I have two for this. First up was Hopewell in Bucktown area. I just think it had a super chill, low-key vibe, super modern, clean, a lot of greenery, and similarly on that same vibe, Dunier. Super quaint. They recently just acquired like the whole building, so for events they are able to open up like 3 different floors, but the main little tap room, intimate little bar with a couple tables, just very talkative, good background music, well lit, and just a fun time to be at.
And my choices for favorite atmosphere, I'd gone back and forth on a couple of these. My favorite space is going to go to Guinness Open Gate. They are definitely not a new brewery to the world, obviously they're from Ireland, but their brewery that they built downtown, just the space is gigantic, and then what they have hovering over their bar is their giant wooden sail to a boat made out of wood. It's huge.
It is a very pretty tap room.
They have an outside patio that runs a whole length with some great views.
Next up, we're gonna go to the flip side, which is worst atmosphere. I think Brian and I have the same answer for this. I think I'm gonna take the words out of his mouth and go with Lunar Brewing. It didn't feel like a tap room, absolutely at all. It felt like a dive bar. It was probably one of the only instances that I felt extremely out of place, that I was not the vibe of it at all. The staff was just kind of rude, especially trying to get stickers for the passport. It was just dark, dank, unfriendly, almost biker bar that if you weren't a part of the club or the team or whatever, it's just not meant for you.
My same pick is Nar. It just felt like a bar that they made their beers in the basement, and okay. And the one that we did have wasn't bad, but just the atmosphere just wasn't inviting like almost everything else was, of where they were happy to have you there and they wanted to share their beers with you.
And excited about the passport.
Yeah.
She just kind of rolled her eyes and snatched it out of my hands, and it was like, okay. But moving on, Brian, why don't you go with the next category, which is Friendliest Staff?
This one, unfortunately, is going to be a little biased just because the brewery that we have gone to the most, we've just become friends with the staff. They know us by name, and it's just been over time we've got to enjoy them. Almost every brewery we have gone to, the staff have been wonderful, excited for us to be there. They see passports and they're excited. Most everybody has been great, but just because we've been to Beguile Brewing so much, their staff has just gotten closer to us than others just because of our frequency of going there. So a little unfair in a way, but they have been wonderful, and I do encourage anybody to go there. They're over in Ravenswood in Chicago.
Could not agree more, but I felt like that was a little bit of a cop-out / biased answer just because we're there almost once a week, at least twice a month. I'm gonna go with Scorched Earth Brewing. In my video, I said she conned me into a flight, which is just factually untrue. The bartender that was helping us, super friendly, super excited about our passports and us almost at 100, super helpful with suggestions of what I should actually get in my flight, really helpful in telling me that they had 2 different radlers, an orange and a lemon, very bubbly, happy to be there, happy to help us out, even though we were there 5 minutes before last call. And Brian got some to-goes, and we were helped by a different gentleman, and he was super nice, walked through the whole cooler with us, gave us little hints and tidbits about the brewing process and the flavor notes about the ones to go. It was just a really nice, cohesive experience, feeling welcome the second we stepped in the door to the second we left with plenty of beer in our hands. So I'm gonna go with Scorched Earth for my most favorite beer staff. Again, shout out to Beguile. We're gonna jump back to the actual tap rooms themselves. I think this category is a category that we both agree on, which is Best Patio. In the summer, you really couldn't ask for anything better than a nice cold beer on a nice patio. So you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe we both said open outcry for Best Patio, up on the roof, really well lit. Even though we were there during the day, everything's really nice finished wood, great overhead lighting with those like industrial bulbs that I really enjoy. A bunch of the seating was actually swings, so if you're feeling more of that vibe, or actual like picnic style, or even just regular chairs, really's got you covered. Good music playing, just a nice comfortable space, really great spot to watch the sunset, and really just vibe on a patio. This is kind of a haha category. I reached out to this brewery because I did not film the bathroom. They did not get back to me, which I think was kind of funny, me asking to have them send a video of their bathroom. With that, a lot of things go into the perfect bathroom for me. First off, I want it as an individual locking stall door compartment. I want it paper towels. I do not mess with a hand dryer. And just finished. I don't feel like these are huge asks, but those are like my main big 3 things coming to a bathroom. So I have to give it to Hop District for the best bathroom. It was amazing in every single way. It felt like stepping into a very nice restaurant or hotel, very well lit, tile floor, paper towels, extremely clean. Granted, we were there fairly early in the day for them opening, but this was basically my dream bathroom of any brewery, restaurant, bar ever. So, Hop District, send me a video of your bathroom, please. Brian, what do you got?
Well, I do share in all the things he mentioned. I didn't go into the bathroom that time because that was our first stop and I hadn't had anything to drink, so I didn't get a chance to see it. For me, there was one that stood out just because I thought it was very unique compared to every other place. I'm gonna give my favorite bathroom to More Brewing in Huntley. What was unique about their bathroom is when you walked in, you first saw the sinks, but then when you walked back to where the urinals would be, they were not urinals. There were, I think, 3 or 4 full kegs that were carved out, and then the finishing touch then is when you went over to the sink. While it did have kind of a sloping water type thing for the water to flow down, the drain covers had More Brewing etched in the metal.
So for our next category, it's going to be favorite brewery. This is when I'm going to be a little biased. I'm going to go with Beguile Brewing. I don't think there's a single beer on the menu that I refuse to drink. I really appreciate them releasing something new almost every single Friday. Super nice tap room, a bunch of different rooms at this point where they have a full back room. They do have their main tap room as well as a garage area and a really nice patio. Super friendly staff. Brian, what is your favorite brewery out of the 100 that we visited?
I would have to agree that Beguile is probably my favorite. So when I was thinking about this, I had to think about other breweries that I also like, and I'm going to throw an honorable mention out there to Mars and to Maplewood. Mars just because I like the environment that they have. It's very eclectic, and there's music, there's food. But Maplewood also would be one of my favorites. I like their varieties of beer. They do some awesome stouts, awesome IPAs. And what's really nice now is in the last 6 months, they opened up the space next door to have a kitchen.
So with our final category, which is much awaited, purposely made last in this video, out of all 100 breweries, out of every single beer that we've had a sample of, Brian, tell us your number one beer out of every single beer we've tasted this summer.
That one was not a very hard choice for me to make. My choice for my most favorite beer, no surprise, it's going to be a barrel-aged stout. Those to me are very special, take a lot of time to create, and just have the most flavor in them that you can get. My favorite beer is going to go to Haymarket, Indignant Raspberry Barrel-Aged Stout. The stout part of it was amazing, as I would expect from a great barrel age.
This smells like a stout. This smells soy saucy plus Valentine's Day chocolate. Wow. It's rich, velvety, chocolatey, raspberry, great mouthfeel. This gets a 9 out of 10. Checks all of the boxes for me for a stout. This is what I want every single Valentine's Day to taste like.
Great beer. Would love to get it again, but timing of when to get it, because it's seasonal.
Jumping off of that as well, my favorite beer was also a barrel-aged stout. It is something that we had super early on, so I really had the bar set high for stouts. Ultimately, this was a toasted coconut tropical stout, which comes from Hop District, which is thick thighs and luscious eyes. It recently won gold in one of the contests, so I am not alone when I'm saying I think it was the best beer of the summer that I've had. It was great mouthfeel, good punch of coconut flavor, but still that good chocolatey stout depth that I really liked. Which this comes in at 14.5% on the boozier side. It's actually celebrating their 3rd anniversary with coconut and cacao nibs. Ooh, it smells thick and rich and like full-bodied. That coconut flavor comes through very well, chocolatey on the end. If an Almond Joy was in a beer, it's not too thick that it's not palatable, but it's not thin. It hits a really nice balance of the two. This is a really good stout, especially for their 3rd year anniversary. I think that they know what they're doing for their stouts and IPAs. So it just kind of checked, not kind of, it did check every single box for me. I think they were our first major outing, which was out in LaGrange, and even our first stop of that day. So I was really in for a treat with that beer. And it is very impressive that from that early on, they managed to hold that title the entire time. So definitely go check out Hop District. And if you can get your hands on Thick Thighs and Luscious Eyes, definitely do so. It is definitely worth the try. And yes, I did say to them when asking for them to film the bathroom that they won our little ranking for best beer of the whole Illinois Passport. No, they did not get back to me on that one either. I just don't think they read the message. So with that, that has been our superlatives for our Drink Illinois Passport, where we completed going to 100 different breweries across Illinois. If you liked this video or the entire series, let me know in the comment below what your favorite beer or brewery was. Let me know the answer to any of the questions that we answered today, or get a little rowdy in the comments and tell me a beer that you did not like and why. While you're down there in the comments, make sure you hit subscribe. And this has been Brett and Coach trying 100 different breweries across Illinois. And I will see you next time in Coach.